The void where the Force should have been was so vast, so absolute, that for a heartbeat she simply froze. "Drop the weapons!" Lauren shouted. "Drop them now!" Ahsoka's mind raced through the emptiness. Different universe. Had to be. The portal, the temple device, the blinding light. She'd felt the Force tear away from her consciousness like a limb being severed. Her enhanced reflexes remained, muscle memory and decades of training didn't vanish. But the supernatural edge that made her a Jedi was gone. She was a warrior without her greatest weapon, surrounded by armed soldiers in a place that radiated ancient power in ways she didn't understand. Slowly, deliberately, she deactivated her lightsabers. The twin blades retracted with a hiss. She raised her hands, hilts visible but non-threatening. "I am not your enemy," she said clearly. "My name is Ahsoka Tano. I don't know where I am, but I mean you no harm." Sheppard studied her with the practiced eye of someone who'd seen too many first contacts go wrong. The exotic weapons worried him, but her body language read more disoriented than hostile. Still, the timing was terrible. They'd detected Wraith scouts in the sector just hours ago. "Dr. Weir, we have a situation," he said into his radio, never taking his eyes off Ahsoka. "Unknown arrival through the gate. Humanoid, armed with energy weapons we've never seen before. She's standing down but claims to be from somewhere else." Dr. Elizabeth Weir's voice came back calm but tense. "Secure her weapons and bring her to the isolation chamber. Full medical quarantine protocols. I'm on my way." The next 3 hours were a blur of procedures. Ahsoka surrendered her lightsabers, though she caught the way the soldiers handled them with extreme caution, clearly recognizing weapons when they saw them. Medical scans revealed biology that Dr. Carson Beckett found both fascinating and impossible. Security protocols meant questions she couldn't fully answer because the truth sounded insane even to her. Now she sat in a containment room, comfortable but clearly designed to hold potential threats, facing Dr. Weir across a transparent barrier. The expedition leader had kind eyes but the bearing of someone who'd made hard choices. "Let's start simple," Weir said. "Where are you from?" "A galaxy far from here," Ahsoka replied, choosing truth. "I was part of an order of warriors called the Jedi. We served a republic that spanned thousands of worlds, protected people, tried to keep peace. I left that order. I've been traveling, searching for my purpose, when I encountered an ancient temple device. It activated. And I woke up falling through your portal into this place. A galaxy far from here." McKay repeated from his station beside Weir, skepticism dripping from every word. "Right. And these Jedi had what magical powers?" "Let me guess, you can move objects with your mind and read thoughts." Ahsoka met his eyes. "I could. Once. Whatever that device did, whatever happened when I came through your Stargate, I can't feel the Force anymore. It's like part of my soul was cut away." The admission hurt more than she'd expected. McKay's expression shifted from mockery to scientific fascination. "Energy field manipulation? Biological enhancement? This Force of yours, was it technological or biological in origin?" "Neither. Both. It's complicated." "Well, here's what's not complicated," Sheppard interjected, leaning against the wall with deceptive casualness. "You show up during a Wraith alert, carrying weapons that could probably cut through our best armor, claiming to be from another galaxy, right when we're trying to keep this city from being fed on by space vampires. You see how that looks suspicious?" "I understand," Ahsoka said quietly. "I've been on the other side of this conversation. Stranger arrives, incredible story, security protocols demand caution. But I'm telling you the truth. I don't know how to get home. I don't know if I can get home. All I know is that I'm not your enemy, and if these Wraith are the threat you suggest, I've fought galactic wars before. I can help." Weir and Sheppard exchanged glances. Before either could respond, McKay's console erupted in urgent beeping. "Oh, that's not good," he muttered, fingers flying across controls. Elizabeth, I'm picking up a massive energy spike from Ahsoka's location. The ancient technology throughout the city is reacting to her presence. It's like she has the ATA gene, but stronger than anything we've seen except maybe. The lights in the containment room flared. Ancient consoles that had been dormant for 10,000 years suddenly activated, glowing with soft light. A holographic display materialized above Weir's desk, showing complex equations and symbols that made McKay gasp. She's activating ancient systems just by being near them, he breathed. This is incredible. This is, Elizabeth, she might be the key to accessing sections of the city we've never been able to enter. The ancient gene therapy we developed is nothing compared to this natural compatibility. Ahsoka felt it too, a strange resonance between her biology and the technology surrounding her. Not the Force, but something else. Ancient. Powerful. Waiting. What's happening to me? She asked. Weir stood, decision crystallizing in her expression. That's what we're going to find out. But first, you need to understand something about where you are. This city is called Atlantis. It was built by a race called the Ancients 10,000 years ago. We're an expedition from Earth, trying to explore the Pegasus galaxy and survive a war against an enemy that feeds on human life force. If you're telling the truth, if you can help us understand ancient technology better, you might be valuable beyond measure. And if I can't? Ahsoka asked. Sheppard's expression was unreadable. Then we figure out what to do with a warrior from another reality who just painted a target on our city by making every ancient system light up like a Christmas tree. Outside the windows, the stars of the Pegasus galaxy glittered cold and distant. Somewhere in that darkness, Wraith hives stirred, their telepathic network already carrying whispers of something new, something different, something that had just arrived in Atlantis. Something they wanted very badly. The isolation chamber's transparent barrier retracted with a pneumatic hiss. Ahsoka tensed, but Dr. Weir simply gestured toward the door with cautious hospitality. You'll be escorted to proper quarters. Comfortable, but monitored. Consider it probationary trust. I've earned less before, Ahsoka said, standing slowly. 2 security personnel flanked her immediately, professional but not overtly hostile. She noticed neither carried weapons identical to the P-90s she'd seen earlier. These were sleeker, more refined. Ancient technology, she guessed. Sheppard led them through corridors that made Ahsoka's breath catch despite everything. The architecture sang with purposeful beauty, sweeping organic lines, crystalline structures that seemed grown rather than built, technology so seamlessly integrated it became art. It reminded her of the Jedi Temple, but vaster, more ambitious. Whoever these ancients were, they'd achieved something remarkable. Impressed? Sheppard asked, catching her expression. The Jedi Temple on Coruscant was ancient, built over thousands of years. Ahsoka replied. This feels older. More intentional. Like whoever built it understood something fundamental about how technology and space should interact. The ancients were the first evolution, McKay said, appearing from a side corridor with a tablet clutched to his chest like a shield. They built the Stargate network millions of years ago, seeded human life across 2 galaxies, then ascended to a higher plane of existence. Left all their toys behind for us to figure out. Some of us are better at it than others. He shot a pointed look at a passing scientist. Ascension, Ahsoka murmured. Becoming pure energy? Transcending physical form? McKay's eyebrows rose. You're familiar with the concept? The Force had teachings about maintaining consciousness after death, becoming one with the living energy of the universe. Some Jedi achieved it. I never thought. She trailed off, touching the wall. The crystal beneath her fingers warmed slightly, responding. Your ancients and my Jedi Order might have been seeking the same thing through different paths. Except the ancients actually did it, McKay said. Whole species. They're up there now, watching, occasionally interfering when it suits them, mostly adhering to some cosmic non-interference policy that's wildly inconsistent. McKay. Weir's voice cut through his rambling. She'd followed them, tablet in hand. Perhaps we should focus on the present situation. Ahsoka, Dr. Beckett wants to run more comprehensive scans. Nothing invasive, but we need to understand why you're triggering ancient technology in ways we've never seen. I'll cooperate, Ahsoka said. But I'd like my lightsabers returned eventually. They're not just weapons, they're part of who I am. Sheppard considered. We'll see. Earn more trust first. The medical bay was another marvel of ancient engineering. Dr. Carson Beckett greeted her with a warm Scottish burr and gentle bedside manner that immediately put her more at ease than the security protocols had. He guided her to a scanning platform that hummed with barely audible energy. Just relax, dear, Beckett said. This'll take a few minutes. The scanner's ancient technology should give us a complete biological profile without any radiation or invasive procedures. As the device activated, washing her in soft blue light, McKay paced nearby with his tablet. The energy readings are off the charts. Elizabeth, look at this. Her cellular structure contains markers similar to carriers of the ATA gene, but the expression patterns are completely different. It's like evolution took a parallel path in her reality, arriving at the same destination through different genetic routes. English, Rodney, Sheppard said. She's naturally compatible with ancient technology, possibly more so than anyone we've encountered. The ancients were exploring ways to enhance human consciousness, to bridge the gap between biological and energy-based existence. Her force abilities, before she lost them, might have been a similar evolutionary development in her home reality. Ahsoka felt the scanner's energy penetrate deep, cataloging every cell. It was invasive in ways she couldn't quite articulate, but she held still. These people needed answers. So did she. The midi-chlorians are still there, Beckett said, studying his display with fascination. Microscopic organisms in her cells, but they're dormant. Not dead, dormant. Like they're waiting for something. The Force doesn't exist in this universe, Ahsoka said quietly. Those organisms evolved in a galaxy where living energy permeated everything. Here, there's nothing for them to connect to. Perhaps, McKay said, his scientific mind clearly racing. Or perhaps the energy exists in different forms. The ancients manipulated zero-point energy, quantum fields, subspace. What if your force was simply one expression of underlying universal constants, and here those constants expressed differently? Before Ahsoka could respond, Alon shrieked through the medical bay. Red light strobed as Weir's voice cut through the intercom. We have Wraith contacts. 2 darts approaching the city, fast and low. All personnel to stations. Sheppard was moving before the announcement finished. Stay here, he ordered Ahsoka, already sprinting toward the door. I can fight, she called after him. He paused at the threshold. Without your powers? Against an enemy you don't understand? That's a negative. Then he was gone. Ahsoka stood on the platform, frustration burning through her. A warrior sidelined while others faced danger. She'd spent her entire life training to protect people, and now... The medical bay's windows offered a view of Atlantis's towers and the ocean beyond. 2 dark shapes screamed across the water, organic-looking craft that moved with predatory grace. Weapon turrets rose from the city's spires, ancient drones launching in brilliant streams of light. One dart exploded in a satisfying fireball. The other banked hard, impossibly fast, and fired a bright beam at the water near the city's edge. The ocean's surface rippled strangely. Culling beam, Beckett breathed beside her. They're not attacking, they're scanning. Looking for something. Looking for someone, Ahsoka realized with cold certainty. The timing was too perfect. She'd arrived, activated ancient systems throughout the city, and now Wraith appeared? These weren't random scouts. McKay burst back into the medical bay, tablet forgotten, face pale. The Wraith dart didn't fire on the city. It transmitted. We intercepted the signal. It's some kind of telepathic carrier wave. They detected Ahsoka's arrival. Her unique bioelectric signature when she came through the gate, it broadcast across subspace like a flare. How many of them know? We demanded, appearing in the doorway with Sheppard close behind. The Dart got the transmission off before we destroyed it, McKay said miserably. Based on the bandwidth and range, potentially every hive within 3 sectors. Elizabeth, we're talking dozens of hive ships, thousands of Wraith. And they all just learned there's something new in Atlantis. Something they've never encountered before. Silence fell like a hammer. Everyone turned to look at Ahsoka. She met their stares evenly, guilt and determination warring in her chest. I didn't mean to bring danger to you. But I'm not helpless. Train me in your tactics, give me weapons I can use, and I'll fight beside you. The Separatist armies numbered in the billions. I've faced impossible odds before. Without the Force? Sheppard asked, not unkindly. I'm still a warrior, Ahsoka said quietly. That doesn't change. Weir's expression showed the weight of command. We'll reconvene in 1 hour. Ahsoka needs to understand what we're facing. What she's just attracted to this city. She turned to Sheppard. Brief her on the Wraith. Everything. She needs to know what's coming. The briefing room's windows overlooked Atlantis' central tower, ocean stretching endlessly beyond. Ahsoka sat across from Sheppard, Tayla Emigon, and Ronan Dex, the core of his team. McKay fidgeted with a tablet in the corner, while Weir observed from the head of the table. Sheppard pulled up a holographic display. The image showed a creature that made Ahsoka's skin crawl, pale, corpse-like humanoid with vertical feeding slits in its palms and predatory intelligence in its eyes. The Wraith, Sheppard began. 10,000 years ago, they defeated the ancients in this galaxy. Forced them to sink Atlantis and flee back to Earth. They're not conquerors in the traditional sense, they're farmers. And we're the crop. They feed on human life force, Tayla said, her voice carrying the weight of generations of horror. Draining years, decades from their victims in moments. My people have been culled by them for as long as our oral histories remember. Entire civilizations reduced to cattle. The hologram shifted, showing massive organic ships. Hive ships. Sheppard continued. Each one carries thousands of Wraith warriors, entire armies. They hibernate between cullings, waking every few centuries to feed across the galaxy. We accidentally woke them all up early. Now they're hungry, and there aren't enough humans in Pegasus to sustain their numbers. They're telepathic among themselves, Ronan added. His voice was rough, scarred by experience. Felt your arrival the moment you came through that gate. To them, you're something new. Different. They'll want to study you, see what makes you special. Maybe feed on you to absorb whatever power you have. Ahsoka processed the information, her tactical mind already working. You said they defeated the ancients. How is that possible if the ancients were so advanced? Numbers, McKay said. The Wraith aren't stupid, they're sophisticated, adaptive. They evolved from a combination of the Iratus bug and human DNA. The ancients created their own worst enemy through arrogance, thinking they could control everything. Sound familiar? It did. The Clone Wars had been born from similar hubris. What are their weaknesses? They regenerate damage rapidly, Sheppard said. Bullets slow them down but don't stop them unless you destroy the brain or heart. Energy weapons work better. We've adapted some ancient tech. They're vulnerable to their own stunner weapons. And their telepathy is both strength and weakness. Disrupt it, you disrupt their coordination. We have fought them to a standstill, Tayla said, but we have not defeated them. Every victory is temporary. Every mission risks culling. Elizabeth has kept us alive through careful strategy and the city's shields, but those shields require power we're constantly struggling to maintain. We're leaned forward. Which brings us to you, Ahsoka. Your presence has made Atlantis a priority target. But McKay believes your ancient gene compatibility might help us access city systems we've never been able to activate. Weapons, shields, power generation, entire sections remain locked to us. So I'm both liability and potential asset, Ahsoka said. Pretty much. Sheppard agreed. Which is why we need to know what you can actually do. McKay says you lost your force powers. What does that leave? Ahsoka considered. Without the force, she had to be honest about her limitations. I was trained from age 3 in combat, tactics, and strategy. Hand-to-hand blade work, ranged weapons, zero-gravity fighting, vehicle operation. I commanded clone trooper battalions in planetary campaigns. I've survived assassination attempts, political conspiracies, and battles against opponents who could throw starships with their minds. But without the Force? Ronan pressed. I'm still faster than most humans. My reflexes, strength, endurance, those were trained, not just Force-enhanced. Togrutas naturally have excellent spatial awareness through our mantrals, which sense space ultrasonically. I won't be throwing objects with my mind, but I can still fight. Sheppard exchanged glances with his team. Ronan, take her to the training facility. Let's see what she's got. The training room was sparse, mats, practice weapons, holographic targets. Ahsoka faced Ronan across the floor. The Satadan was massive, radiating controlled violence. 7 years running from Wraith had honed him into a weapon. No holding back, he said. I need to know what you can do. Agreed. He moved with shocking speed for his size, particle magnum holstered, relying on hand-to-hand. Ahsoka met him with defensive forms, testing his style. His strikes were powerful, efficient, street-fighting brutality married to military precision. She couldn't read his intentions through the Force. No precognitive flash to guide her blocks. She had to rely purely on observation, pattern recognition, trained reflex. Ronan's fist whistled past her mantral as she ducked. She countered with a palm strike to his ribs, but he'd already shifted, knee rising toward her midsection. She twisted, absorbed the impact on her thigh instead of her gut, used his momentum to throw him. He rolled, came up grinning. You're good. You're better than you're showing, she replied. The next exchange was faster. Ahsoka felt the absence of the Force like a phantom limb, kept reaching for precognition that wasn't there, Force speed that had vanished. She compensated with technique, decades of muscle memory, but Ronan was relentless. A sweep took her legs. She turned the fall into a roll, came up, found his particle magnum drawn and aimed at her chest. Dead? He said simply. Ahsoka bowed respectfully. I relied on abilities I don't have anymore. That won't happen in real combat. It will, Ronan said, not unkindly. First few fights after the Wraith destroyed my world, I kept reaching for weapons I'd dropped, calling for backup that was dead. You adapt or you die. Teyla entered carrying 2 fighting sticks. Perhaps a different approach. Ronan tests strength and speed. I would test skill. She handed 1 stick to Ahsoka. They circled each other. Teyla moved with fluid grace, economy of motion that spoke of lifelong training. When she struck, it was with precision rather than power. Ahsoka met her stick to stick, the impact reverberating through her arms. Without Force precognition, she had to read Teyla's body language, anticipate through observation. The Athosian was disciplined, controlled, beautiful in her efficiency. They exchanged rapid strikes, either gaining clear advantage. Ahsoka's Jedi training emphasized adaptability. She'd learned a dozen fighting styles across the galaxy. But Teyla's technique was equally sophisticated, born from generations of survival against impossible odds. Finally, they separated, both breathing hard. You fight like one who has lost much, Teyla observed. So do you. Then we understand each other. Teyla set down her stick. You can learn to fight without your Force. But you must accept what you have lost, not constantly reach for what is gone. Sheppard had been watching from the observation area. He descended now, expression thoughtful. You're skilled. Rusty without your powers, but that's fixable. Question is, can you learn our tactics, use our weapons, function as part of a team instead of as a solo Force user? I was part of a team once, Ahsoka said quietly. The best team I ever knew. Then I walked away because I couldn't reconcile my principles with their orders. I've been alone since then, and I've wondered if that was the right choice. Being part of a team means trusting people to watch your back, Sheppard said. Means following orders even when you disagree, as long as they're not immoral. Means not running off on your own because you think you know better. Can you do that? Ahsoka met his eyes. I don't know. But I want to try. 3 days of integration followed. Ahsoka learned to strip and reassemble AP-90, memorized Atlantis' layout through countless patrols, studied Wraith anatomy and tactics until the information felt burned into her brain. She slept in quarters that were comfortable but monitored, ate in the commissary where expedition members watched her with curiosity and wariness. McKay dragged her to sealed sections of the city, testing her ancient gene compatibility. Doors that had remained locked for 10,000 years opened at her touch. Consoles activated. A weapons platform in the North Pier responded to her presence, its targeting systems coming online for the first time since the expedition arrived. Incredible! McKay breathed as ancient holographic displays materialized around them. You're not just activating systems, you're interfacing with them on a level I've never seen. Even Colonel Sheppard, who has the strongest natural ATA gene we've documented, can't do this. Ahsoka touched the control interface, and information flooded her mind. Not the overwhelming torrent of a Jedi holocron, but structured data, weapons specifications, power requirements, tactical applications. The ancient technology spoke to something in her biology, filled a fraction of the void the Force had left. The ancients were trying to evolve. She murmured. These systems. They're designed to enhance consciousness, bridge biological and energy states. They were preparing for ascension. Exactly. McKay's excitement overcame his usual condescension. And somehow your midi-chlorians, even dormant, allow you to interface with that preparation technology. It's like your biology already evolved partway down the path the ancients were engineering themselves toward. The thought unsettled her. Had the Force been natural evolution or ancient manipulation? Had someone in her galaxy done what the ancients attempted here? On the fourth morning, Sheppard found her in the training room, moving through combat forms with mechanical precision. Lightsabers remained locked in Weir's office, so she used training sticks, executing sequences she'd practiced 10,000 times. You're cleared for off-world duty, he said without preamble. Milk run. We're checking on a trading partner 3 hours from here, picking up supplies showing the flag. You come along, we see how you handle gate travel and first contact situations. Screw up, and you're back to being a lab rat for McKay. Ahsoka set down the sticks. Thank you? Don't thank me yet. Ronan thinks you're compensating for lost abilities. Tayla thinks you're still processing trauma. I think you're both those things plus a security risk we can't afford. But Weir believes everyone deserves a chance to prove themselves. He tossed her a radio earpiece and AP-90. Prove her right. The gate room thrummed with controlled energy as the team assembled. Ahsoka watched the dialing sequence with fascination, 7 chevrons locking in order, each one a spatial coordinate across impossible distance. When the wormhole established, the kawoosh exploded outward, then stabilized into shimmering blue event horizon. After you, Sheppard said, gesturing. Ahsoka stepped through. The sensation defied description. Molecular deconstruction, transmission through subspace, reconstruction on the other side, all in a heartbeat. She emerged on an alien world under twin suns, atmosphere breathable, vegetation purple and amber instead of green. The rest of the team materialized behind her. Tayla immediately scanned the treeline with practiced vigilance. Ronan checked his particle magnum. Sheppard consulted a life signs detector. Welcome to P3X774, he said. Locals call it Vela. Population around 3,000, pre-industrial tech level, friendly to trade. We supply them medical tech, they supply us food and textiles. Simple arrangement. They followed a worn path through the forest. Ahsoka's Montrose picked up the subtle ultrasonic landscape, caverns beneath their feet, water flowing underground, the settlement ahead registering as a cluster of structures and movement. "Contact," Tayla said quietly. 3 individuals approaching, armed with spears, but postures suggest greeting, not hostility. 3 Valens emerged from the trees, humanoid, with skin bearing faint scale patterns and eyes adapted for the dual sun brightness. They relaxed when they recognized Tayla. "Friends from Atlantis," the lead Valen said, lowering his spear. "We did not expect you for another moon cycle. And you bring a new companion?" His gaze fixed on Ahsoka's montrals with open curiosity. "This is Ahsoka," Sheppard said carefully. "She's new to our team. We're here for routine supply exchange, if Elder Kanos is available. He waits in the village. Come." The settlement was modest but well organized. Circular dwellings, central gathering space, communal facilities. Children played with carved toys while adults worked looms and tended crops. It reminded Ahsoka of countless Outer Rim settlements she'd protected during the war. Elder Kanos greeted them warmly, his scaled skin weathered by decades under the twin suns. "Colonel Sheppard, Tayla, Ronan, welcome. And a new face among the travelers from Atlantis. The ancestors smile on diversity." Trade negotiations proceeded smoothly. Medical supplies for grain, antibiotics for woven materials that Atlantis's botanists wanted to study. Ahsoka observed the interaction, noting how Tayla handled cultural nuances, how Sheppard maintained friendly authority, how Ronan watched perimeters without seeming paranoid. Then Kanos turned to her. "You bear warrior markings, young one. Your people honor combat?" "They did," Ahsoka said. "I was part of an order dedicated to protecting others. I've lost my way recently, trying to find a new path." "The wanderer's journey," Kanos said with understanding. "My grandson walks it now. 3 seasons passed, he left to find meaning beyond what the village could offer. The ancestors teach that sometimes we must lose ourselves to discover who we truly are." Before Ahsoka could respond, Ronan stiffened. "Darts. 2 of them, incoming fast." The unmistakable scream of Wraith engines cut through the peaceful afternoon. Panic erupted in the village. Parents grabbing children, warriors raising spears uselessly, elders shouting orders lost in the chaos. 2 Wraith darts screamed overhead, their organic hulls pulsing with bioluminescence. Culling beams lanced down, dematerializing screaming Valens into storage matrices. The ships banked for another pass. "Get everyone to the gate," Sheppard ordered, already firing his P-90 skyward. The bullets sparked off the dart's armor plating, ineffective. "Ahsoka, help with the civilians!" A child stood frozen in the square, too terrified to move. Ahsoka sprinted toward her, scooped her up, ran for cover as a culling beam stabbed the ground where she'd been standing. Without force speed, she was barely fast enough. Her lungs burned, muscles screamed, but she made it to the shelter Tayla had organized. "More coming!" Ronan shouted. 3 additional darts appeared on the horizon. This wasn't random culling. This was targeted. They tracked Ahsoka here, followed the energy signature that made her unique. These people were dying because of her. Sheppard's radio crackled. "Atlantis, this is Sheppard. We have multiple Wraith darts attacking Vela. Request immediate jumper support and reinforcements. We've got civilians in the open and..." A dart's culling beam caught Elder Kanos mid-stride. He vanished with a cry, dematerialized into the ship's storage. The child in Ahsoka's arms screamed for her grandfather. Ahsoka felt rage and helplessness war within her. Without the Force, she couldn't bring down those ships, couldn't deflect the beams, couldn't save everyone. She was just another soldier with limited firepower against superior enemies. But she was still a soldier. "Northeast Treeline!" Ahsoka called, setting the child down inside the shelter. "Collapsed structure. Provides overhead cover from the beams. Move them there." Tayla understood immediately, shepherding panicked Valens toward the ruins Ahsoka had identified. The Togrutta's montrals gave her spatial awareness none of the others possessed, She could sense the environment in 3 dimensions, find cover invisible to human eyes. Sheppard fired controlled bursts at a diving dart. Jumper ETA 2 minutes. We need to keep these people alive that long. 2 minutes. An eternity in combat. Ronan climbed onto a dwelling's roof, particle magnum tracking a dart's approach. He fired, the energy blast scoring the ship's wing. The dart wobbled but maintained flight, banking hard for another culling run. Ahsoka grabbed a fallen spear, primitive, but a weapon. A dart screamed low over the village square, culling beam active. She threw with all her strength, no force guidance, just trained muscle memory and desperation. The spear punched through the beam's projection node. The culling beam sputtered, died. The dart pulled up sharply, venting atmosphere from the puncture. "Nice throw!" Ronan shouted. But 4 more darts circled like predators. They'd learned, staying higher now, out of spear range. Culling beams lanced down methodically, harvesting Valens who couldn't reach shelter fast enough. Ahsoka's tactical mind raced. Standard Jedi response would be force leap to the darts, lightsaber through the hull, trust the Force to guide each movement. But she wasn't a Jedi anymore. She was a soldier with AP-90, protecting civilians against superior air power. Think. The darts were organic technology, living ships. They'd have weak points, instinctive behaviors. They were avoiding the trilene where fire had damaged one. They were coordinating, which meant telepathic communication could be disrupted. "Sheppard!" she called over the chaos. "The darts are staying away from that western approach vector. Something there spooked them." He followed her gaze, saw what she noticed, scorch marks on trees, evidence of a previous dart crash. Old culling run went bad. They remember it. "Heard them there," Ahsoka said. "Make them think we're retreating in that direction. When they dive to cull, we hit them from behind." Sheppard grinned fiercely. "I like how you think. Ronan, Tayla. Fall back west, make it look panicked. Ahsoka, with me." We set up a crossfire. The plan came together in seconds. Tayla and Ronan ran toward the trilene, firing wildly, looking desperate. The darts took the bait, diving in pursuit, culling beams active. Ahsoka and Sheppard positioned themselves in the ruins, P-90s braced. As the darts committed to their attack run, both opened fire on the exposed undercarriages. Sustained automatic fire into vulnerable biomechanical systems. One dart exploded spectacularly, raining bioluminescent fragments across the village. A second staggered, trailing smoke, retreated skyward. The remaining 3 darts broke off, climbing fast. "Jumper inbound!" McKay's voice crackled over the radio. "Get clear of the village center!" An ancient puddle jumper materialized overhead, its sleek form descending rapidly. Drone weapons launched in brilliant streams, self-guided energy projectiles that hunted their targets with impossible precision. 2 darts exploded before they could evade. The third fled through hyperspace, vanishing in a flash of light. The jumper settled in the village square. The rear hatch opened, revealing McKay at the controls with a security team aboard. Silence fell except for the moans of wounded and the crackling of fires. Ahsoka surveyed the devastation. 12 Valens dead or taken, including Elder Kanos. Dwellings destroyed. A peaceful community shattered because 5 darts had followed her energy signature here. Tayla moved among the survivors, offering comfort in their language. Ronan helped extinguish fires. Sheppard coordinated medical aid from the security team. A young Valen, barely an adult, approached Ahsoka with eyes full of grief and rage. "You brought them here. Elder Kanos spoke of signs before you arrived. Unusual lights in the sky. Scout ships watching. Then you come, and death follows." "I didn't know," Ahsoka said, the words ashes in her mouth. "I'm sorry." "Sorry doesn't return the taken." The Valen spat at her feet, turned away. Sheppard appeared at her elbow. "Not your fault. Wraith would have called eventually. This village was on their maps. The timing. Is suspicious, yeah? But blame belongs with the Wraith, not you. He paused. But we need to talk about why they're so interested. 5 darts for a village this size? That's overkill unless they were hunting something specific. Back in Atlantis, we're convened in emergency session. The team stood around the briefing room table while McKay displayed data on holographic screens. The darts weren't random, he confirmed. We analyzed their flight patterns. They ignored closer villages with larger populations. They came straight to Vela, directly to our position. They're tracking Ahsoka specifically. How? Weir demanded. Her bioelectric signature is unique. The midi-chlorians in her cells, even dormant, generate an energy pattern that Wraith telepathy picks up like a beacon. When she goes through the Stargate, that signal propagates across subspace. Every gate activation, every world she visits, they know exactly where she is. Ronan's expression darkened. She's a walking target. We should confine her to the city. One of the military advisors suggested. Keep her off-world missions until we find a solution. Confine her like a prisoner? Taylor objected. She helped save those villagers. Her tactical insights were invaluable. And 12 people died because the Wraith followed her there, the advisor countered. Ahsoka stood silently, letting them debate her fate. She'd faced similar councils before, the Jedi Council discussing her actions, Republic generals questioning her methods. The powerlessness was familiar and bitter. Weir raised a hand, silencing the argument. Ahsoka, you've been quiet. This is your life we're discussing. What do you think? I think I'm a liability, Ahsoka said bluntly. I didn't ask to come here, didn't ask to lose the Force or become bait for telepathic vampires. But I'm a warrior. Sidelining me while others fight feels like dying slowly. She met Weir's eyes. You have every right to lock me in the deepest part of this city. But if there's a way to use what I am, what the Wraith want, against them, I'm willing to try. Sheppard leaned back, considering. You're talking about bait. Deliberate trap. I'm talking about turning a disadvantage into an advantage. The Wraith want me? Let's give them a chance to take me. On our terms, in a place we control, with overwhelming firepower waiting. Absolutely not, Weir said firmly. I'm not authorizing suicide missions. Then what's the alternative? Ahsoka challenged. Hide in Atlantis while the Wraith burn every world I've touched. Watch villages die because I brought their attention. I've lived that before. Protected people and lost them anyway. At least this way, we choose the battlefield. McKay cleared his throat. There might be another option. The ancient database mentions shielding technology designed to block telepathic scanning. If I could adapt it to Ahsoka's specific energy signature, we might mask her presence from the Wraith. Might, Sheppard emphasized. Science is rarely certain, Colonel. But it's better than both locking her up and using her as live bait. Weir considered, the weight of command visible in her expression. Rodney, you have 72 hours to develop that shielding. Ahsoka, you're restricted to the city until then. After that, we'll reassess. She looked around the table. Dismissed. The 72 hours crawled past like years. Ahsoka spent them in McKay's lab, subjected to endless scans while he muttered calculations and rebuilt ancient devices with manic energy. The shielding technology was theoretically sound, personal force fields designed to block specific energy signatures, but adapting 10,000-year-old technology to modern applications tested even McKay's considerable genius. Hold still, he commanded for the 100th time, adjusting sensors around her. The midi-chlorians generate a quantum resonance pattern that the Wraith telepathy detects. If I can generate an inverse wave that cancels it out without disrupting your actual biology, which would be bad, very bad, potentially fatal, then we might mask your signature. How potentially fatal? Ahsoka asked. On a scale of 1 to catastrophic cellular collapse? Maybe a 6. 7 at most. Comforting. Despite the danger, something about the work fascinated her. The ancients had approached consciousness enhancement scientifically, treating what her galaxy called the Force as quantifiable energy fields. Watching McKay decode their research, she glimpsed parallels: midi-chlorians as biological interfaces, ancient gene activation as genetic compatibility, ascension as the ultimate merger of consciousness and energy. "Your people and mine were trying to reach the same place," she said during one long session. McKay glanced up from his calculations. "Meaning?" "The Jedi sought harmony with the Force, becoming one with universal energy. The ancients engineered their biology to ascend to higher planes. Different philosophies, same destination. Except the ancients actually succeeded," McKay pointed out. "Your Jedi are still very much corporeal. Well, except the dead ones who supposedly become glowing ghosts. But that's unverified and—" He caught her expression. "Sorry. That was insensitive." "It's accurate." Ahsoka touched the scanner array. "Do you think I could ascend? Here, in this universe, using ancient technology?" McKay's expression turned serious. "Theoretically? Your biological compatibility suggests potential. But ascension requires more than genetics. It requires achieving a level of consciousness the ancients spent millions of years evolving toward. Even they only succeeded as a species after plague forced the issue. Individual ascension is incredibly rare. But possible. So is winning the lottery while being struck by lightning. Doesn't mean I'd recommend it." On the third day, Tayla found Ahsoka in the observation deck, watching ocean waves crash against Atlantis' shields. The Athosian carried 2 cups of tea, offering one silently. "You blame yourself for Vela," Tayla said. "It wasn't a question. 12 people died because I was there. Hundreds of thousands have died because the Wraith exist. Millions across the millennia. You did not create them, did not summon them. You are simply another victim of their hunger." Tayla sipped her tea. "I have watched many warriors destroy themselves with misplaced guilt. Do not join them." "How do you bear it?" Ahsoka asked. "Your people have been culled for generations. How do you keep fighting when the enemy seems infinite? Because surrender means extinction. Because every person we save, every culling we prevent, every small victory matters. The Wraith are not infinite. They can be hurt, depleted, defeated. It simply takes longer than any one lifetime." Tayla's gaze was distant. "And because I am not alone. My team, this expedition, we share the burden. You could too, if you allow yourself. I walked away from my last team. I don't know if I can trust myself with another." "The question is not whether you can trust yourself," Tayla said gently. "It is whether you can trust us." Before Ahsoka could respond, alarms blared throughout the city. The gate room was controlled chaos when they arrived. McKay stood at his console, face pale. "We're coordinated responses from the command deck." Sheppard strapped on tactical gear while barking orders. "What's happening?" Ahsoka demanded. "Wraith Hive ship just dropped out of hyperspace," Sheppard said grimly. "It's broadcasting on all frequencies. They want to talk." The main screen activated, showing a Wraith unlike any Ahsoka had seen in briefing materials. This one was female, regal, with elaborate bone structures and intelligence burning in her eyes. A queen. Atlantis. The queen's voice carried ancient malevolence and terrible beauty. "We know you harbor the anomaly. The one whose signature echoes across our telepathic networks like discordant music. Surrender her to us, and we will depart peacefully. Refuse, and we will demonstrate why the ancients fled this galaxy." Weir stepped forward, projecting calm authority. "I'm Dr. Elizabeth Weir, leader of this expedition. We don't surrender our people. If you want to negotiate." "Negotiate?" The Queen's laugh was ice. "You misunderstand your position. We have studied this anomaly for days through our network. Her cellular structure suggests evolution we have never encountered. Her potential as a feeding source, as a breeding template, as a subject for experimentation, incalculable. Give her to us, or watch your city fall." "The shield will hold," McKay muttered, though his voice lacked conviction. Your shields are powered by depleted zero-point modules, the Queen said, having obviously intercepted their communications. We can sustain siege for months. Can you? Sheppard muted the transmission. Elizabeth, we've got maybe 3 weeks of shield power at full strength. If they commit to bombardment, we don't negotiate with terrorists, Wraith said firmly. But Ahsoka saw the calculation in her eyes. 3,000 expedition members versus 1 person who'd arrived by accident. Let me talk to her, Ahsoka said. Absolutely not. She wants me. Let me find out why. Maybe I can buy us time, learn something useful. Ahsoka moved to the communication console before anyone could stop her. This is Ahsoka Tano. You want to talk? Then talk. Why am I so important? The Queen leaned closer to her screen, examining Ahsoka with predatory fascination. Because you are proof. For 10,000 years, we have fed on humans in this galaxy, refined our understanding of life force energy. But you carry markers of directed evolution toward conscious energy manipulation. Your species was engineered, just as mine was created through ancient hubris. Studying you could reveal how to enhance our own feeding, how to transcend our current limitations. You want to experiment on me. I want to understand you. Then feed on you. Then perhaps breed you if you survive. Your genetic material combined with our own might produce extraordinary results. Revulsion crawled across Ahsoka's skin, but she kept her voice steady. And if I refuse? Then we destroy everyone you've come to care for slowly, while you watch. Then we take you anyway. The choice is merely whether others suffer first. Tayla's hand found Ahsoka's shoulder, a silent message, you are not alone. How long do we have to decide? We're asked, unmuting the channel. 1 of your hours. Then we begin bombardment. The Queen smiled. Choose wisely. The screen went dark. The briefing room erupted in controlled chaos. Military advisors advocated for immediate jumper strikes against the Hive. Scientists calculated shield endurance under sustained bombardment. We tried to maintain order while Sheppard planned defensive positions. Ahsoka stood apart, watching the debate swirl around her fate. The familiar weight of impossible choices settled on her shoulders. Save the many by sacrificing herself, or let others die fighting for her freedom. She'd faced similar crossroads before. On Mandalore, choosing between Jedi neutrality and helping people who needed her. On that Coruscant platform, walking away from the Order rather than compromise her principles. Every choice had cost something. No. Ronan's voice cut through the arguments. We don't give up our own. Not to Wraith, not to anyone. Noble sentiment. The military advisor countered. But 3,000 lives versus 1? The math is simple. The math is never simple, Tayla said coldly. If we surrender Ahsoka, we tell every ally in this galaxy that Earth's protection means nothing. We tell the Wraith that threats work. We become what we claim to oppose. McKay burst in, tablet clutched triumphantly. I've got it. The shielding works, mostly. 73% reduction in her bioelectric signature. Not perfect, but enough that Wraith telepathy would lose her in background noise if she's not actively using ancient technology. How'd you test it so fast? Sheppard asked suspiciously. I may have skipped a few safety protocols in favor of not dying horribly when that Hive ship opens fire. McKay set the tablet down, displaying complex equations. But there's a catch. The shield generator is bulky, power-intensive, and stationary. I can install it in Atlantis, mask her while she's in the city, but the moment she leaves, she lights up like a beacon again. We're finished. So we can hide her here but can't take her on missions. Unless, McKay continued, we use that to our advantage. Everyone turned to look at him. The Queen wants Ahsoka because of her unique biology, right? What if we give her a signature without the actual person? A decoy using ancient holographic technology and bioelectric emitters. We could project Ahsoka's energy pattern anywhere we want, draw the Wraith into a trap. Sheppard's expression shifted from skepticism to interest. You're talking about a shell game. Real Ahsoka stays hidden in the city while the hologram leads Wraith into an ambush. Exactly. We project the decoy onto an uninhabited world, preposition jumpers and drones, then spring the trap when they take the bait. They'll scan for life signs. The military advisor objected, which the emitters will fake. Ancient technology is sophisticated enough to fool Wraith sensors at range. Up close, obviously it falls apart, but by then they're committed and we have them exactly where we want them. Ahsoka considered the plan's elegance. Use the enemy's obsession against them, turn her vulnerability into tactical advantage. But something nagged at her. A queen commanding a hive ship wouldn't be fooled easily. She'll suspect a trap, Ahsoka said. Queens aren't stupid. They'd fought the ancients, survived 10,000 years of warfare. A simple decoy won't fool her. Which is why the decoy needs to act convincingly, Blair said, understanding dawning. Not just stand there, but move, react, seem desperate. We need to control it in real time. I could do that, Ahsoka offered. If I'm operating the hologram from here, I can make it behave authentically. Make her believe she's hunting me. Sheppard nodded slowly. We give the queen what she expects, desperate prey trying to hide on an uninhabited world. We let her think she's won. Then when her troops close in for capture, we hit them with everything. It's risky. We're cautioned. If the technology fails, if they see through the deception, then we're no worse off than we are now, McKay interrupted. We've got 53 minutes before bombardment starts. This is our best option. Silence fell as everyone processed the plan. Ahsoka felt the familiar weight of command decisions, except this time she wasn't leading. She was the commodity being bartered, manipulated, used as bait even while hidden. But that was strategy. Using available resources, including herself, to achieve mission objectives. She'd done it countless times during the Clone Wars. I'm in, she said firmly. Tell me what you need. The next hour blurred into frantic preparation. McKay installed the shielding generator in Ahsoka's quarters while simultaneously constructing holographic emitters on M4X337, an uninhabited world 2 gates away. Sheppard positioned 3 jumpers in cloaked orbit with full drone complements. Ronan and Taylor led ground teams to concealed positions around the projected landing zone. Ahsoka stood in McKay's lab, neural interface crown on her head, hands on ancient control crystals. The holographic projection of herself materialized on M4X337's surface, perfect down to her mantrals and facial markings. Testing motor control, McKay said. Make the hologram walk. Ahsoka focused. The projection moved, her movements translated through ancient technology into visible action light years away. It felt strange, disembodied, like controlling a puppet that looked exactly like her. Biometric emitters active, McKay confirmed. You're reading as a living organism with Ahsoka's exact energy signature. From the race perspective, you're really there. We're opened the communication channel to the hive ship. This is Dr. Weir. We've considered your offer. We won't surrender Ahsoka Tano, but she's agreed to leave Atlantis voluntarily. She's relocating to neutral territory. What you do from there is your concern. The Queen's response was immediate and suspicious. You expect me to believe you're releasing her freely? We're protecting our city, Weir said, allowing frustration to color her voice. She's been here less than a week and brought you down on us. We'll give her supplies, weapons, a fighting chance. After that, she's not our problem. A long pause. Ahsoka could almost feel the Queen analyzing the response, searching for deception. Very well, the Queen finally said. Transmit her coordinates. If this is a trap, Atlantis burns. McKay sent the gate address. On the lab monitors, Ahsoka watched through remote sensors as the Wraith hide began moving, repositioning for gate deployment. She's taking the bait, Sheppard reported from his jumper. 6 darts launching, likely followed by ground troops through the gate. Everyone hold positions until we have confirmation. Ahsoka stood motionless in the lab, puppet master to her own decoy. Through the hologram sensors, she watched the Stargate on M4X337 activate. Wraith warriors poured through, pallid, predatory, moving with frightening coordination. They spread out, searching. One approached the hologram, scanning with handheld technology. "Steady," McKay whispered. "Don't move yet. Let them commit." The Wraith warrior reached toward the hologram. His feeding slit opened, preparing to drain what he thought was living prey. 20 meters. Close enough. Now! Sheppard's voice cracked across the channel. Ancient drones screamed from the jumpers, lancing through Wraith warriors with surgical precision. Energy weapons from concealed ground positions cut down the survivors. The ambush was perfect, overwhelming, brutal. But on the monitors, Ahsoka saw the Queen's hive ship beginning a hyperspace jump. Not toward M4X337. Toward Atlantis. It was a feint. Ahsoka breathed. She sent expendable troops while hive ship dropping out of hyperspace. McKay's console erupted in alarms. Right on top of us. Shields at maximum. The trap had worked perfectly. Just not on the right target. The city shuddered as Wraith weapons impacted the shield. Alarms screamed through every corridor. Ahsoka tore off the neural interface, stumbling as her consciousness snapped back from controlling the distant hologram. She knew, McKay said, fingers flying across consoles. She sent those warriors knowing it was a trap. She wanted us to commit our jumpers, pull our defenses away from the city. How long can the shield hold? We're demanded over the intercom. At this bombardment rate? Maybe 6 hours before the ZPM depletes completely. Then we're defenseless. Sheppard's voice crackled through, distant but clear. We're RPB, but we're 20 minutes out even at maximum speed. Can you hold? Another impact. The floor tilted slightly as the shield absorbed massive energy. Through the lab windows, Ahsoka saw the hive ship hanging in orbit like a cancerous growth, organic architecture pulsing with bioluminescence, weapon ports glowing as they recharged. The weapons platform, Ahsoka said suddenly. The one in the north pier that activated when I touched it. Can we use it? McKay looked up, hope and fear warring on his face. It's a directed energy weapon, yes, but we've never successfully fired it. The power requirements are enormous, the targeting systems are ancient, and even with the ATA gene, I can activate it. You said I interface with ancient technology better than anyone. Activating and accurately firing at a moving target in orbit are two very different things. Then you'll help me. Ahsoka was already moving toward the door. Show me how. Weir's voice cut through their debate. Do it. Rodney, get her to that weapons platform. Everyone else, damage control teams to shield generators. If we lose power. The transmission cut off as another massive impact rocked the city. Lights flickered, then steadied as backup systems engaged. McKay grabbed his tablet and ran after Ahsoka. They sprinted through corridors where expedition members scrambled to emergency stations. The North Pier was distant, requiring a transport chamber, ancient teleportation technology that normally only Sheppard could activate reliably. Ahsoka touched the controls. The chamber responded instantly, translating them across the city in a flash of light. They materialized in the weapons platform chamber. A circular room dominated by a massive ancient control interface. The walls were transparent, offering panoramic views of the ocean and the hive ship above, still pummeling the shields with methodical precision. Okay, McKay muttered, pulling up schematics on his tablet. The control interface requires biometric authentication, which you can provide. The targeting system uses thought interface technology. You visualize the target, the system calculates firing solution. But the power draw will drop our shields by 40% while firing, leaving us vulnerable. How many shots do we get? Before we're completely defenseless? Maybe 3. For if we're lucky and the Queen stops shooting while we're charging. Ahsoka placed her hands on the ancient crystals. The weapon platform hummed to life, energy coursing through systems that had slept for millennia. Information flooded her mind. Not overwhelming like she'd heard ancient repositories could be, but structured, purposeful. Targeting protocols, power management, firing sequences. Through the interface, she felt the weapon's appetite for energy. McKay was right. Firing would be catastrophic for their defenses. There has to be another way, she said. What if we don't try to destroy the hive? What if we target something specific? Like what? Their weapons? Too many ports, we need dozens of shots. Their bridge? We don't know where it is. There. McKay stopped, eyes widening. Their hyperspace motivator. Every Wraith hive has one, usually located in the central column. If we disable it, they can't flee. They'd be trapped here, vulnerable to our jumpers when they return. But still able to bombard us. Unless we convince them retreat is their only option. If they can't jump to hyperspace, can't escape, and suddenly face 3 jumpers with full drone complements plus a functional ancient weapons platform. McKay's grin was slightly manic. They might decide discretion is the better part of not dying horribly. Another impact. The shield flickered visibly, energy cascading across its surface like lightning. We're out of time, Ahsoka said. Walk me through targeting. McKay pulled up schematics of standard Wraith hive architecture. Here, central column, roughly 2/3 down from the crown. The hyperspace motivator should be there. But hitting it requires precision. Miss by 20 meters and you just make a hole. Hit support structures and the whole ship might collapse, killing thousands of Wraith drones and human prisoners in the storage bays. Ahsoka's hands trembled slightly on the controls. Without force precognition, she was aiming based purely on McKay's calculations and her own trained precision. Thousands of lives, enemy and innocent, depending on accuracy she'd taken for granted for so long. I can't sense it, she admitted. The Force would have let me feel the right moment, the right angle. Now I'm just guessing. Then guess well, McKay said, not unkindly. Because we're about to lose shields entirely. The weapon platform's targeting reticle appeared in Ahsoka's mind, overlaid on her vision through the ancient interface. She visualized the hive ship, focused on the coordinates McKay had indicated. The system calculated vectors, power requirements, probability of success. 63% chance of hitting the target zone. Not the 100% certainty the Force would have given her. But better than nothing. Firing solution locked, she said. Charging capacitors. Energy drained from the shields. The bombardment immediately intensified as Wraith sensors detected the weakness. The city groaned under the assault. 30 seconds to full charge, McKay reported, watching his tablet with white knuckles. 25. 20. Elizabeth, we need those shields back the moment she fires. Acknowledged. Weir's voice came through, tense but controlled. All power ready to redirect on your mark. Ahsoka watched the targeting solution refine itself. Felt the weapon's readiness like a held breath. The hive ship was moving, adjusting position to optimize its bombardment. She'd have 1 shot, maybe 2 seconds before the angle changed. 15 seconds. 10. 5. The capacitors reached full charge. The weapon platform thrummed with barely contained energy. Ahsoka thought of the Valens who died. The expedition members sheltering throughout Atlantis. The warriors she'd sent into the decoy trap. Every choice carrying weight, every action creating consequences. She'd spent months questioning her purpose after leaving the Jedi Order. Wondering if walking away had been cowardice or conviction. Right now, she was exactly where she needed to be. Firing, she said. A lance of brilliant blue-white energy erupted from the weapons platform, crossing the distance to the hive ship in a heartbeat. It struck the central column exactly where McKay had calculated, punching through organic armor and biological systems. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the hive ship's bombardment ceased. Its engines flared erratically, trying to engage hyperspace and failing. Secondary explosions rippled through its structure. "Direct hit!" McKay shouted. "Hyperspace motivator is offline. They're dead in the water. Shields back to maximum. We're ordered. Recall the jumpers. Let's finish this." The Queen's face appeared on every screen throughout Atlantis, fury and grudging respect warring in her expression. "Impressive, little anomaly. You fight with more cunning than I anticipated." "Leave," Ahsoka said simply. "Repair your ship and go. We don't want to destroy you, but we will if you force us." The Queen studied her for a long moment, then smiled. "You misunderstand. This was never about capturing you today. This was about learning what you are, how you think, what you're capable of. And now I know." The transmission ended. The hive ship began limping away on sublight engines, battered but intact. The celebration in Atlantis was muted. They'd survived, driven off a hive ship, proven their defenses could hold against direct assault. But the Queen's final words cast shadows over the victory. This had been reconnaissance, not conquest. A test of Ahsoka's capabilities, and by extension, Atlantis's vulnerabilities. Ahsoka stood in the gate room as Sheppard's jumper returned, watching the puddle jumper settle onto the platform. The team emerged exhausted but unharmed, the ambush on M4X337 having eliminated 24 Wraith warriors before the retreat order came. "Hell of a shot," Sheppard said, approaching her with something resembling respect. "McKay says you hit a 2-meter target from orbit without computer assistance. That's either skill or the luckiest guess in history." "Little of both," Ahsoka admitted. "Without the Force, I can't trust my instincts the way I used to. Had to trust McKay's math instead." "And how'd that feel?" "Terrifying. Necessary." She met his eyes. "I've spent my whole life relying on abilities that aren't there anymore. Fighting the Wraith, using ancient technology, protecting this city, it's forcing me to rebuild who I am from the ground up." Ronan clapped her shoulder with surprising gentleness. "You did good. Saved a lot of lives." Tayla simply smiled, but her approval was clear. The next few days brought routine that felt almost normal. Ahsoka continued working with McKay, exploring ancient systems throughout the city. The shielding generator he'd built hummed constantly in her quarters, masking her bioelectric signature. Wraith scout ships probed Atlantis' sensors but didn't attack, seemingly content to watch and wait. She trained daily with Ronan and Tayla, adapting her combat style to compensate for lost Force abilities. Learned to read opponents through body language instead of Force sense. Developed new tactics that emphasized teamwork over individual power. And slowly, carefully, she began to believe she might belong here. Then McKay made a discovery that changed everything. "You need to see this," he said, bursting into the commissary where Ahsoka was eating lunch with the team. "Right now. It's about the ancient database and your midi-chlorians and, just come on." They followed him to a previously sealed laboratory in the city's eastern section. Ancient equipment lined the walls, most of it dormant. But one console glowed with active displays, complex diagrams rotating in holographic space. "I've been analyzing the ancient research into conscious energy manipulation," McKay said, pulling up files. "The experiments they ran before achieving ascension. And I found something incredible. They were trying to create biological interfaces for non-ascended beings to access higher dimensional energy. Artificial enhancement of consciousness through genetic engineering. The ATA gene. Where said understanding? That was the result? Partially. But they abandoned the research because it only provided access to their technology, not actual ascension. The genetic modifications weren't sophisticated enough to bridge the gap between biological and energy states. McKay turned to Ahsoka. "But your midi-chlorians are exactly what they were trying to create. Biological organisms that interface with dimensional energy fields." Ahsoka felt ice run down her spine. "You're saying my species was genetically engineered? That the Force was created by someone?" Not created, discovered and exploited. The Force exists as a fundamental energy field in your reality. Someone in your galaxy's distant past figured out how to engineer biological interfaces to access it. Your midi-chlorians are ancient-level biotechnology, just developed independently. That's impossible, Ahsoka whispered. The Force is natural, it's always existed, it's exactly what the ancients were attempting here. McKay interrupted gently. Which means the device that brought you to this reality, the one you activated in that temple, it wasn't Jedi technology. It was ancient. A dimensional bridge they built before abandoning your galaxy. The implications crashed over Ahsoka like a wave. Everything she'd believed about the Force, about Jedi history, about her own nature, potentially recontextualized as ancient genetic engineering. I need air, she said, stumbling toward the exit. She found herself on an exterior balcony, ocean wind whipping her montrals. The twin suns of the Pegasus galaxy. No, wrong. This system had one sun. Her mind was mixing realities, hung low on the horizon. Tayla found her there 20 minutes later. McKay has upset you, the Athosian said quietly. He's suggesting my entire culture, everything I believed about the Force, might be based on genetic manipulation by an ancient race. That the Jedi weren't discovering universal truth but accessing engineered biology. Does that make it less real? Ahsoka looked at her. What? The Force, even if created by the ancients, still exists. Your connection to it, even dormant here, still shaped who you are. Does knowing its origin diminish its meaning? I don't know. Maybe. The Jedi taught that the Force was the binding energy of all living things, natural and eternal. Learning it might be artificial. The ancients ascended to energy states beyond our understanding, Tayla said. The Wraith were created by accident, yet they're still alive, still valid as beings. Origin does not define worth. You are who you choose to be, not what ancient engineering made you. They stood in silence, watching the ocean. There's more, Ahsoka said finally. McKay thinks that ancient device in the database, the one they were researching for conscious enhancement, might be able to reactivate my midi-chlorians. Give me back the Force, or something like it. And you're considering it. Shouldn't I? I'm crippled without those abilities. I could protect people better, fight more effectively, access ancient technology in ways even Sheppard can't. You protected this city without the Force, Tayla pointed out. You fired the weapons platform, survived Wraith attacks, earned your place on this team through skill and courage, not supernatural power. But I could do more. Or you could lose yourself trying to reclaim what's gone. Tayla turned to face her fully. I've watched warriors chase lost strength before. Ronan spent years trying to become the soldier he was before the Wraith destroyed Satida. It nearly killed him. He only found peace when he accepted what he'd become instead of mourning what he'd lost. Ahsoka absorbed that. The temptation to reclaim the Force burned like a physical ache. But Tayla was right. She'd survived here, contributed, mattered. Without the Force, she'd discovered she was still capable, still valuable. Still herself. What does the device do exactly? She asked. McKay must have explained. It would attempt to reconnect your midi-chlorians to dimensional energy sources available in this reality. Ancient zero-point fields, quantum foam, subspace energy matrices. Essentially, it would give you Force-like abilities powered by this universe's physics instead of your original realities. Essentially? The research was incomplete. The ancients abandoned it. There's a 70% chance of success, 20% chance of no effect, and 10% chance of catastrophic cellular damage resulting in death. Those are terrible odds. McKay said you'd say that. Tayla smiled slightly. He also said you'd probably try it anyway because warriors are predictably reckless. He's not wrong, Ahsoka admitted. An alarm sounded from inside the city, not combat alert, but priority signal. Both women moved immediately, returning to the command center. We're stood before the Stargate, face grim. A communication was coming through, Talk-RA encrypted channel. The holographic display showed a familiar figure. Jacob Carter, Sam's father and Talk-RA operative. Elizabeth, we have a problem. The Wraith Queen who attacked Atlantis? She's contacted the Goa'uld. The briefing room filled rapidly. Sheppard, McKay, Taylor, Ronan, and Ahsoka gathered around the holographic display as Jacob Carter's image stabilized. The Talk-RA operative looked tired, his expression grave. Our intelligence network intercepted communications between the Wraith Queen and a Goa'uld named Anubis. Jacob began without preamble. For those unfamiliar, Anubis is a half-ascended system lord with access to ancient knowledge. He was thought destroyed, but fragments of his consciousness survived. He's been rebuilding in secret. Wraith don't negotiate with Goa'uld, McKay said. Different galaxies, different methods. They've never even met before, have they? They have now. The Queen offered Anubis information about Atlantis' location and defenses in exchange for access to Goa'uld genetic manipulation technology. Specifically, technology to extract and replicate unique biological traits. Jacob's gaze fixed on Ahsoka through the display. She wants to create Wraith warriors with your midi-chlorian enhancement. Super soldiers with force-like abilities and the Wraith's feeding capabilities. Silence fell like a hammer. That's insane, Sheppard said. Even if they could pull it off. They can, Jacob interrupted. Anubis has ancient knowledge. The Queen has Wraith biotechnology. Between them, they might actually succeed. And if they do, both galaxies are in serious danger. We're leaned forward. What do they need to make this work? Tissue samples from Ahsoka. Living samples, with active midi-chlorians. The Queen's earlier attack wasn't just reconnaissance, she collected sensor data, biological traces left when Ahsoka activated ancient systems. But it's not enough. They need her, specifically. So we're back to her being the most wanted person in 2 galaxies, Ronan muttered. There's more, Jacob continued. The Talk-RA Council has authorized me to make you an offer. We have technology that could mask Ahsoka's bioelectric signature permanently, not just within Atlantis. But it requires her to accept the Talk-RA symbiote. The room exploded in objections. McKay shouted about medical complications. Sheppard questioned Talk-RA motives. Taylor raised concerns about consent. Ahsoka sat quietly, processing. A Talk-RA symbiote. A parasitic organism that would merge with her consciousness, share her body, grant her abilities and knowledge but fundamentally alter who she was. It wasn't the Force, but it was power. Protection. A solution. And a complete surrender of the independence she'd fought so hard to maintain. No, she said, cutting through the noise. Everyone turned to look at her. Thank you, Jacob, but no. I didn't survive losing the Force just to let something else control my body and mind. The Talk-RA don't control their hosts, Jacob said patiently. It's a partnership, equal sharing. I understand. And I'm still refusing. Ahsoka stood, addressing the room. I've spent the last week learning to be myself without the Force. Accepting a symbiote would be running away from that growth. There has to be another solution. The ancient device, McKay said suddenly. The conscious enhancement technology. If we activate it, if Ahsoka gains Force-like abilities powered by this universe's energy, she'd be too dangerous for them to experiment on. The integration would make her biology incompatible with their replication methods. Or it kills her, Ware said flatly. 10% mortality rate, Rodney. Versus certain experimentation or blending with a Talk-RA. Those odds are comparatively excellent. Sheppard looked at Ahsoka. It's your call. Your body, your risk. But you should know. Team doesn't want you taking unnecessary chances just to prove you can fight without powers. You've already proven that. Ahsoka met his eyes, saw genuine concern there. From Ronan, silent support. From Taylor, understanding. Even McKay looked worried beneath his scientific enthusiasm. These people cared whether she lived or died. Not because of what she could do for them, but because she'd become one of them. "I won't take the device," she said finally. "And I won't accept the Takare symbiote. But I have another idea." She turned to Jacob's hologram. "You said the Queen wants to replicate my biology? What if we give her false data? Make her think she's succeeded, create flawed Wraith warriors that destroy themselves or turn against her?" "Biological sabotage," Jacob said, interest sparking. "The Takare have experience with that. But it would require coordinating between Atlantis, the Takare, and potentially SG-1 to infiltrate Anubis's operation. And it would require Ahsoka as bait again," Sheppard added. "Letting them think they can capture her." "Not capture," Ahsoka corrected. "We let them steal medical data from Atlantis. False records, engineered by McKay and your best biologists, showing my midi-chlorian structure with fatal flaws built in. They create their super soldiers, the soldiers fail catastrophically, and both the Queen and Anubis are set back months or years." McKay's fingers were already flying across his tablet. "It could work. I need access to Takare genetic databases, complete Wraith biological scans, and probably 48 hours without sleep, but it could work. There's significant risk. We're cautioned. If they realize it's sabotage, they'll come after us anyway," Ahsoka said. "At least this way, we're controlling the engagement, using their obsession with my biology against them." Jacob nodded slowly. "I'll need to clear it with the Takare Council. But this kind of operation, it's exactly what we do. I'll contact SG-1, see if they can help from the Milky Way side while you handle Pegasus." "Do it," Weir decided. "Rodney, start building the false biological data. Make it convincing but subtly fatal. Ahsoka, you'll work with him. He needs to understand your biology well enough to fake it. Colonel Sheppard, prepare for the possibility this goes sideways and we need to extract under fire." The team dispersed to their tasks. Ahsoka remained behind as the others left, staring at the holographic star map showing both Pegasus and the Milky Way. 2 galaxies, infinite worlds accessible through the Stargate. She'd lost her connection to the Force, lost her path home, lost the certainty that had defined her life as a Jedi. But she'd found something else. A team that trusted her. A city that needed her skills. A purpose that didn't require supernatural power, just courage, tactics, and the willingness to stand against impossible odds. Tayla appeared beside her. "You're contemplating your place here. I'm accepting it," Ahsoka said. "I spent months after leaving the Jedi Order wondering if I'd made a mistake. Wondering if I could still be useful without the structure, the purpose, the power. Coming here, losing the Force, it forced me to find out. And what did you discover? That I'm more than the Force ever made me. That team bonds matter more than individual strength. That sometimes the warrior you need to be isn't the one you were trained to become." Ahsoka touched the window, looking at the ocean. "The Jedi taught that the Force was everything. But maybe the real lesson was learning to be extraordinary without it. You will make an excellent addition to this expedition," Tayla said warmly. "Assuming we survive the Wraith Goa'uld alliance." "Assuming that, yes." They shared a smile, warriors who'd found purpose in the most unlikely circumstances. Somewhere in the Milky Way, Anubis plotted conquest. In the Pegasus Void, the Wraith Queen schemed. 2 galaxy-spanning threats converging on one former Jedi who'd learned that true strength came not from power, but from the team standing beside you. Ahsoka had lost the Force. But she'd gained something the Jedi never taught. The understanding that belonging mattered more than ability, that trust outweighed power, that the greatest warriors were those who fought for each other rather than glory. The Stargate network stretched across reality, connecting thousands of worlds. Her journey through it had only begun. The stars of Pegasus glittered beyond Atlantis's towers as Ahsoka stood on her quarters balcony, ocean wind carrying salt spray and distant promise. Behind her, McKay's shielding generator hummed steadily, masking her presence from Wraith telepathy. Before her, an entire galaxy waited, uncharted worlds, ancient mysteries, threats she'd helped face alongside her new team. Her lightsabers rested on the desk inside, returned by Weir as a gesture of earned trust. Weapons she'd carried for years, symbols of a life that felt increasingly distant. She could wield them still, but without the Force guiding her strikes, they were simply elegant tools rather than extensions of her will. And somehow, that felt right. The door chimed. Sheppard entered without waiting for acknowledgement, carrying 2 cups of what passed for coffee in Pegasus. Thought you might be awake. First real mission briefing is at 0600. Agricultural survey on P7X009, suspected ancient ruins, low Wraith activity. Standard milk run. Nothing standard with the Wraith interested in me. Which is why you're coming along. Time to see if you can handle routine gate operations without attracting galaxy-ending attention. He handed her the coffee, studying her expression. You good with this? Really good, not just saying what you think we want to hear. Ahsoka considered the question honestly. Was she good with losing the Force? With being stranded in a reality not her own? With facing telepathic vampires and false gods while learning to trust a team she'd known less than 2 weeks? I spent months searching for purpose after leaving the Jedi Order, she said finally. Wondering if I'd thrown away everything meaningful by walking away. The Force was gone before I even realized how much I'd relied on it as my identity. She met Sheppard's eyes. Coming here stripped away everything I thought defined me. And what's left, it's enough. I'm enough. The warrior I am without powers, without destiny, without the Force telling me what path to walk. That's a yes then. That's a yes. He nodded, satisfied. Good. Because Ronan's betting you'll accidentally activate some ancient weapons system within the first hour, and I'd hate to lose $20. Only 20? I have faith in your self-control. He moved toward the door, paused. For what it's worth. You fit here. The team thinks so. Even McKay, and he hates everyone. Alone again, Ahsoka returned to the balcony. Somewhere beyond the ocean, beyond the stars, the Wraith Queen plotted with Anubis. The sabotage operation would unfold in the coming weeks. False biological data planted, enemies misdirected, 2 galaxies' threats temporarily neutralized through cunning rather than power. She'd learned that lesson well. The Clone Wars had taught her tactics and strategy. Leaving the Jedi had taught her independence. Losing the Force had taught her humility. But Atlantis was teaching her something more fundamental. That strength came not from what you wielded, but from who stood beside you when the enemy pressed close and the shields began to fail. The Stargate would activate at dawn, chevrons locking in sequence, wormhole establishing to a world she'd never seen. She'd step through alongside Sheppard, Tayla, Ronan, warriors who'd become far more than teammates in the brief time since her arrival. The Force was gone. Her galaxy was impossibly distant. The path ahead was uncertain, dangerous, likely to end in combat against enemies who wanted to dissect her biology or harvest her for experiments. And somehow, standing on this balcony in an ancient city at the edge of an alien ocean, Ahsoka Tano felt more at peace than she had in years. She was no longer a Jedi. But she was still a warrior. Still a protector. Still someone who would stand between innocent people and the darkness that hunted them. Just with AP-90 instead of lightsabers. With a team instead of the Order. With trust instead of the Force. The ancients had built the Stargate network to connect worlds, to explore the infinite possibilities of existence. Ahsoka had stepped through one of those gates and found not just a new galaxy, but a new understanding of who she could be. Her journey through the Stargate network, through loss, adaptation, and hard-won belonging, had only just begun. Thousands of worlds waited beyond the event horizon. Ancient technologies to master. Wraith hives to outmaneuver. Goa'uld schemes to unravel. Civilizations to protect. And through it all, a team that would have her back, just as she'd have theirs. In the gate room below, systems powered up for the morning's first activation. Chevrons would lock. The wormhole would establish. And Ahsoka Tano, former Jedi, current member of the Atlantis expedition, would step through into whatever challenges the Pegasus galaxy offered. Without the Force. but never alone. Indeed. Hit the subscribe button for more interesting stories. Thank you for watching.